Adesh Guruji.
Others.
So we've been talking about the Mahasiddha and Nāth lineages, and I'm curious to learn more about Sahajayan or Sahaja Yoga, which arose in Bengal in the 8th century, so around the time of Padmasambhava, among yogis known as the Sahaja Siddhas. And it really seems like the perfect synthesis between, those two practices. And in particular, there was a Mahasiddha called Saha, also known as Aerosmith, and he was sort of the key figure of the Vajrayana Buddhist Sahajayana movement. And Saha and his disciples were masters of Mahamudra meditation. And other Sahaja Mahasiddhas include Kukuripa, who we love because he was a friend to the dogs.
Yes, it's very true.
Kanapa and Basukupa, and they all expounded their beliefs in songs. And Saraha had these ecstatic spiritual songs that rejected conventional rules to point directly to Sahaj, this innate inner nature, the natural state that's central to the Nāth tradition. And so I'm wondering if you can explain Sahaj Yoga from Gorakh's perspective. And eventually, let's also talk about the relationship with Sahaj and Mahamudra and Dzogchen practices.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. This question is very interesting. And especially about Sahaj and how it has developed through the ages. So, talking about Sahaj, the meaning of Sahaj is like, if we break the word down, Saha and Ja, Ja. Sahaja, so Sahaja, Sahaja. So this was the practice, that was developed by Gorakh, right, through his yogic philosophy on yoga, on Hatha Yoga. So here you see the word, when we look at it, then it means like Saha, Saha meaning being very comfortable, being together, not separate, Saha. And Ja meaning born or created, right? So the union of these two syllables, we have Sahaja. And Sahaja is simply, it means that it is your true nature, the innate nature that we have within us, right? So that is like the natural state that has always been, with us, has been always been present with us, right? So here, this is the aspect of Sahaj, is to make you aware of that state, of that you are that real, that is the natural state, right? You were born with it. It is innate. It's inside you, right? It's just that for many of us, there is a veil. Right, so there is a process of removing the veil and exposing the innate nature of yourself. So this is what actually Sahaj usually means, like what you are looking for, it is already present inside you. What you are searching for, it is already there, right? It is innate nature, it's right inside you, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he says like that is you do not manufacture enlightenment, right? It is already there. The veil, we have to remove that curtain, that is covering the real you, that is the consciousness, the Sahaj, right? So exposing this by cleaning is what yoga does, right? That is what Hatha Yoga tells us about it. Right? That true nature is always in us,
Okay.
But we have actually forgotten about it.
And so, when we're really like unpacking the main three aspects of Sahaj philosophy, how would you do that?
Yeah, so these aspects, the main aspect that by which we can understand what Sahaj is, right? The first aspect of Sahaj is the mind, right? So in Sahaj, the mind is given a lot of importance here, very important, because you can see that the mind is the one which is responsible for creating that awareness inside us, the awareness that we are innate conscious beings. You see? So the mind plays an important role here. Why? Because the mind is very, very unstable. It is always moving, right? Most of the time moving outward and very less movement inward, you know. And it is very difficult to stabilize this mind, to bring the stillness of the mind is very important in Sahaj practice, right, which Gorakh has pointed out. And in the same way, the other aspect when we talk about is the consciousness, that is Chaitanya, right? So here you can see without the control of the mind, without controlling our mind, we will not be able to awaken our awareness. And without awakening our awareness, we will not be able to identify our true innate nature that we have with us.
So I guess what needs to be controlled is memories, desire, fear, imagination. These are the kind of the chitta, you know, the mind stuff that is continually in this state of flux, right? Yeah. Thoughts.
Right.
And that's what we need to control.
Yes, that is what the mind, we have to withdraw our mind from all these, right? Things, this very disturbing emotions that arise from our body, and the mind is not able to control those emotions and have no control over these kind of emotions which you just said, right?
And even worse, it identifies with them.
Yes, and then the identification with these kind of emotions, right? Like identifying yourself with the mind, you know, and thinking that the mind is you, but actually that is not the reality, right?
Right,
it's
and
something
that's what
different.
Perpetuates suffering, right?
Yes.
And so then this Chaitanya is beneath those.
Yeah, that Chaitanya
thoughts.
is the true nature of ourself, right? That is the consciousness, right? So the consciousness belongs to us. We are born with it. That's what Gorakh is saying here. Yeah. We are born with it. It's your unit. It was already there. That's why Gorakh says, like, people every time speak about, I am enlightened. I want enlightenment, right? But Gorakh just talks the opposite way. He says, like, right? Who is unenlightened? Who is not enlightened? So here he is exposing the truth. He's saying, like, you are already enlightened, you know, you already have that inside you. Right? That gem is inside you. Look for it, find it, right? And go for it. You see?
And so then we get to Sahaj as being the main goal.
Yes, and Sahaj is the final ship where we have to, you know, go on the board of the ship. So that is Sahaj, and Sahaj is simple, right? Sahaj means total liberation.
Moksha.
Means, yes, very right, moksha, right? So that is Sahaj. That is what it is, right? And then, right, it cannot be like, we cannot misunderstand Sahaj as ecstasy, right? That is something else that is very emotional, right? So people sometimes when they become very excited with ecstasy, whatever they are experimenting on, and then they tend to believe that they have achieved Sahaj.
The bliss.
Yes.
Right.
The bliss that they feel that it is Sahaj, but actually that is not real, it's not true, it's just an illusion, right? Mm-hmm. So there we need to actually understand this very much, right?
Right.
It is complete, total, natural state, naturalness, that is Sahaj, right? And Here Gorakh says that is with you. It's inside you. Look for it, find it, right? Yeah.
So a lot of our viewers are familiar with Patanjali Yoga, and so, this process reminds me of, he also refers to Chitta and Chaitanya. And, he's referring to Chitta as the active mind stuff or consciousness, while Chaitanya is the pure eternal witness or supreme spirit Purusha.
Yes.
And so Chitta is the instrument that we experience the world, whereas Chaitanya is the underlying light of awareness that illuminates those experiences. And in the Yoga Sutras, human suffering occurs when Chitta gets really caught up in its own moving thoughts or sort of entangled with Prakriti.
The British.
Right, in the Brittis. And it forgets its connection to the pure, stable awareness of Chaitanya. And so the foundational aim of yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, the quieting of the mind's waves, the cessation of these vrittis. And then when the Chitta becomes perfectly still, it acts like a clear, unrippled mirror, reflecting the pure light of consciousness. So the practitioner realizes their true liberated self.
Yes, that's very true, And Patanjali also very beautifully, he explains the same phenomena, the same philosophy, but in his way,
Right.
in his yoga, right? So in this also Patanjali emphasizes that it is only yoga through which you can attain this enlightenment, right? And there we speak about the Chitta, right? And Chitta is simply, we can compare this, or it is the similar synonym, right, to the mind, right? So here also Patanjali says, like, unless and until you have control over the Chitta, right, that you can bend the Chitta, right, to yourself, then only you will be able to become aware, and aware of what the Purusha, right? So the Prakriti and the Purush, right? Here also the difference. You can
Samkhya philosophy.
Yes. So from Samkhya you can see that how it is related, right? So there you can see Patanjali also expresses the same view that you need to have hold of the Chitta, right? Unless and until you do not have hold of your Chitta, then you will never have Chaitanya. Right, you will never have that experience of seeing your own conscious self.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it deals with the same way, but traditionally it is different. That's the only thing. The language
Okay.
is different.
So Gorakh also criticizes people who chase mystical experiences.
Very much, because Gorakh was totally, opposed to what was happening outside, because that was what he used to always specify on. He's saying, your mind, watch it, right? Why are you letting your mind go outside? You got to collect your mind and still your mind. You should not get distracted by what is happening outside, right? And there are so many things outside that is like, we cannot accept. Right? Like idol or worship. A very good example.
Rituals.
Yes.
Right.
Right? So all this thing, it makes us very unstable. That is, the mind becomes very unstable. And people, they believe in these things like, right, having powers, having siddhi, right, a special power, or having a lot of being able to create miracles, or being able to do some black magic, right? So all these things that is outside. And Gorakh was totally opposed against this, because it was big distraction for the yogi, right? So this is why Gorakh was very much
Taking you away from the inner.
Yes, they distract,
nature,
taking your
right.
real, what you are outside, and you're not seeking inside at all, then you won't find anything, right?
Right.
So that is why Gorakh was very much opposed of these kind of things, right? Because he said, experience come and experience go, right? Like you feel that after doing something you feel very blissful, but that's just an experience, and then it is going to just dissolve afterwards, right? So you can see that it is not real, right? What is real bliss? That is finding the innate nature of yourself, that is your consciousness. So there you can see the relation also.
It's like that metaphor you talked about before with the clouds and the sky, right?
Yes, very true. Yeah, like
the sky is the innate
the
awareness.
innate one, the awareness, the consciousness there.
Right.
Right.
And the obscurations
Yes.
are the clouds.
Yeah, and then the clouds are hiding things, and
Yeah.
they're all moving around, like the
Exactly.
rain,
The
the
vritti.
storm, everything. So that is what Gorakh this week and explained this, use this analogy also of the sky and the clouds moving around, the clouds being the mind, the chitta, not stable, very much disturbed.
And then there's this idea that, dust settles on a mirror.
Yes, it's like that, right?
Right.
The mirror,
Or on the mind.
yes.
As a metaphor.
The
for
mirror
the
is
mind.
there, is the mind, right? And then the dust settles on it. The dust is all this
Obscuration, maya. Right.
The maya that is there. And you need to just clean that dust, right? And then the apparatus that you need to clean this dust has been given by the Siddhas.
But we're not trying to create a mirror.
No, there is no creation. We cannot create. The mirror is already there, right? We cannot create that. It is already there. That is what it means in Sahaj, the innate nature. It's
So
born
yoga's
with you.
removing.
Yes, it is born with you.
Right.
It's there. You need to find it.
It's purifying and removing
Yes.
the dust
Yeah.
on the mind.
Yeah, so that's why yoga is necessary for removing this dust. That's why Gorakh, he emphasizes on this hatha yoga, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then just to sort of summarize this, ultimate reality, or, the supreme bliss that one can feel from Sahaj and moksha are already within the individual.
Yes.
So the practitioner needs to remove the maya, the illusion, the layers of obscuration that prevent us from seeing the truth, our own innate nature.
Yes.
And so a big misconception, like many people who are new to the spiritual path, they think, I have to become spiritual.
Yes.
I need to add something to me, when really this is the greatest misunderstanding.
It is an understanding, because that is a huge distraction again, right? Because it prevents us from seeing the real truth.
Yeah.
Because it becomes the obscurity to the dust on the mirror. Same thing, right? So that's why Gorakh says it is unbecoming,
Yeah.
right? It is not becoming, right? Because you are forgetting yourself, right? Your true self, you are not trying to find your true experience with your true self,
Right.
right? You are hiding it,
Mm-hmm.
you see? You're not seeing the real thing. So that's why he is speaking about this misunderstanding,
Yeah.
because people get involved in spirituality, right? They would think I have to become spiritual, and many of people think, I have to become religious, you see?
Yeah.
And then they get involved in different religious
Yeah.
activities, right? And then all this thing that is going on, the reality of idol worship, right? And all these things that are outside, So,
The truth is within the body.
yes, it is the innate nature that we got to find ourselves, right?
Right.
Because we got to follow this path there, right? So the same thing has been, talked by the Buddhist Siddhas also, right? As the tradition of the Nāth yogis, right? Only the innate thing, the real strategy behind them is very similar,
Right.
It's only the vocabulary that is different.
So then how does Sahaj relate to, say, Mahamudra and Dzogchen?
Yeah, now Saj and the practice of Mahamudra in Jochin practice, right? there you can see, like in Sahaja, when we talk about Sahaja, the mind is very important, right? And so the mind is naturally, actually, it is a pure thing, right? It has been obscured by all these distractions, right? So that is what Sahaj tries to specify. And then when we talk about the Mahamudras in Jochin practice, right? There also they emphasize that the mind is that ancient primordial thing.
Yeah.
It is there, it is innate nature in us, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same philosophy, similar, right? When we talk about the mind. And then in the same way when we come to practice, then in practice also the Saha says with practice only you can remove this dust.
Right.
Right, all the obscurities. Without that, you cannot. And in Jochen, it is very much emphasized that meditation reveals this to us, this innate nature to us. So we need to go and practice again. So there you can see the similarity again, right? And then it's the same as in Mahamudra, like the whole thing is, it's in a restful state, right? There is no effort needed for what you want to achieve, right? And it's the same philosophy when we go into the Sahaja also. It's an effortless awakening of your awareness, which will open the veils, remove the dust, and you will be able to see your consciousness, your innate nature, right? So the similarity is very much there, right, with the practices. So you can see that in this also we talk about, in Sahaj, it says you got to dissolve your ego, let it go, let it dissolve, right, all this thing. And it's the same thing in Mahamudra also, right? We need to achieve this state by letting go, you know,
Of the
grasping, right? Letting go everything. So there is very symmetric. And then the natural state is the same, it remains the same in both. In Jochin also they have the same, right, belief that the natural state is always remaining with us. It was with us, it will remain with us always. That is the consciousness that remains.
And I guess both of them talk about a union, like the Nāth tradition, and the Mahamudra also speaks of this union of non-duality.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes, very much. Right. So there it is, like always the non-dual needs to merge into, the duality has to merge into a non-dual form, like in the Nāth Sampradaya, like in the Nāth yogis, they believe that it is the merging of the Shiva and the Shakti,
Right.
which ultimately becomes a non-dual state, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. In the other practice also, it says the unity of emptiness with the luminous state, right? The luminous awareness, right? So there also the union is there. It's very similar, right? Yeah.
And then when we look at Dzogchen, again, it's kind of a primordial knowing,
Yes.
Self-knowing. It's empty yet luminous, beyond fabrication.
Yes. So that is what it is. That is the Rigpa, right? That Jyotin speaks about. And Rigpa is very similar with Sahaja. It's the same philosophy, right? That is your innate nature. Find it, right? Find it through the practice that you already have. You have the boat.
Right.
Just go through the river of samsara, and you will reach the Saj, the enlightenment, the moksha, right? The Rigpa in Jokshan. So it is very much similar there, right? That is, in the Buddhist teachings, we have the emptiness and the absence of an enduring self. That means the self needs to dissolve in the emptiness.
Right, and that this is produced not by effort, and when all obscurations fall away,
Yes.
it is revealed.
It is revealed. That is what they talk about. Even the Nāth saying the union of Shiva and Shakti, and then that dissolves into the eternal self,
Right.
meaning the consciousness again.
So then, when I think about, what does this feel like? you know, when you're in this state of, when you recognize your inner nature, your Buddhahood, your the awareness, the chaitanya, what does it feel like? And so it's kind of described in this work called the Sahaja Siddhas by Dombi Haruka Mahasiddha.
Yes, very true.
And,
because, yes.
you know, so he's describing it as natural accomplishment. You know, it's spontaneous, effortless state achieved when the mind's mental flux ceases
Yes.
and the ego is eliminated.
Yes.
I mean, very much like what we're talking with
Yes,
Patanjali as
very
well, right?
similar.
So this state is defined by the merging of something called surati, which is intentional, willful effort, with nirati, which is non-intentional cessation. When all duality merges into the formless, leading to a state of complete invulnerability, like a vajra. So, you know, so he's describing this ultimate breakthrough in Sahajayan tantric practices, where the yogi transitions from striving for enlightenment to effortlessly embodying it. So in simple terms, it details the shift from trying to being, which grants total psychological and spiritual freedom.
Yes, very true.
So
Because-
maybe you can just unpack that a bit, like terms like surati, nirati, merged, formless, and the state of complete
Yes, here you
invulnerability.
can see like surati, when we're talking about surati here, that is forced effort, right? Forced effort is required to start the engine. Then the train will start rolling on its own, you know. But before the train was still, needed some effort, right? A physical effort or something to push the train.
Discipline.
Yes. So that discipline was very important in maintaining the surati, you know.
Like, so without discipline, you can't recite mantras.
You cannot.
You
right.
can't
You cannot
meditate.
practice anything.
You can't do anything.
Yeah,
You
if
need this
Yes.
initial.
Because if you
right.
don't discipline yourself according to this practice, then you will be nowhere else.
Right.
So that discipline plays a very big role here to have that surati. Right? To start that power, that energy, that fuel needed to start that engine.
Okay.
Right? So that is, we need
So
effort.
nirati is the opposite.
Yes, it's
of
just the opposite.
surati.
Yes, just the opposite of surati. And nirati here says it is effortless, right? You don't have to apply any effort.
Letting go.
Yes, just letting go. Like the train, once you have given the fuel and you have sparked out the engine, then it rolls on,
Right.
right? So similarly, you know.
No thinking.
no-
Chitta
yes,
stopped.
yes, everything stopped there, right?
Nira.
Everything is not there, you see. And then that is nirati state, right? Achieving that. Because to achieve that, all the flux, right? All the disturbance, all the distractions need to be thrown away.
Yeah.
And you need to withdraw your mind from all this, right? And get inside yourself and see for yourself how you can move.
And then you can merge with the formless.
Yes. And then we need to merge, because that merging happens now, right? First you need some effort, then that effort starts everything. Now you are effortless, calm, quiet, right? Then you are merging yourself now into the real, that is going forward again, right?
Into the effortless effort.
Yes, effortless effort. And
That's
then,
it's so funny. That's also what Gita Iyengar
Yes.
within the Iyengar
Yes.
system
Yes.
speaks about. When you really fall into the embody the asana,
yes.
is effortless effort.
Effortless effort afterwards.
beautiful.
It's very much, you know, the practice also can easily, the yoga practice also, you know, can easily simplify this experience for the practitioner too.
So they're also merging into non-dualism.
Yeah, so when we realize this state that we have already given the effort Now everything is moving calm and quiet for us, right? Then comes the state where you start realizing that everything is nirakar. Nirakar meaning formless. There is no form to it, right? So that is the dissolution starts, right?
Yeah.
So there, that enlightenment cannot be just done by only the effort or just only the effortless, It's not that, right? Everything has to come to the mental state, where the mental state, that is the mind, becomes still. Right? Then only the formless state appears.
Right.
Right.
And so, like in this state, Mahasiddhas are considered to be invulnerable. And not because bullets are bouncing off them, but because why?
Yes, because that is the state when a Mahasiddha achieves this particular understanding of his own self, the true self, the innate nature, and realizes this, and then he is always with his own innate nature. His mind does not wander around, right? He has full control over his mind, and he is perfectly in bliss because his awareness is awakened, and that awakened awareness is making him see his own self, his own consciousness, and he knows that this is the real treasure.
Yeah.
You see, for him, because he has found that, right? So he and the world outside, the confusion of the world, the chaos of the world, everything, the attacks, the insults, all this worldly things does not matter for the Siddha. It does not affect him at all. It's like the bullets just bounce off, right? So the Siddha is, at that time, he's
So
still
unshakable equanimity.
yes, very much.
No matter what happens.
No matter what happens, he knows the truth, and when the truth is there, he does not waver, he does not fall, right? So that is the state.
It's kind of like you having your whole home bulldozed a
Yes.
couple months back.
Yes, that
And
is.
I marveled to see how calm you were.
Yeah, so
The
this.
equanimity.
Yes, the equanimity.
When the rug literally was pulled out
Yes.
from underneath you.
Yes,
All
it
right.
was like that, It was a disaster, actually. But yeah, so these are the things that happen, the chaos in the world, and we should not get affected by these things.
There's a whole other long tangent I'd love to talk about politics
Yes.
and the yogi involvement, but
Yeah,
later, another
maybe
time.
we can come to that also,
But-
reality.
So, like, how do you recognize these Sahaj states in the practitioner or in your chela?
Yeah, that is how we recognize this is we watch the mind of the disciple or the seeker, right? And then we can easily find out whether his mind is totally stable or not, still wandering, looking for things that are not, useful for his sadhana, for his proper guidance. Then we can say that the chela is still wandering around, right? Like using a sabdi, saying, oh, why don't you stay in your home, why are you always going out, every time I see you are going out, why you should come inside and stay, back in your house. Like, that is how the bhasa, the Sandhya bhasa explains this also, you see. So that is how we can know that, that is not has been done, the mind is wandering, it still needs to control.
So there's no real compulsive, the mind's not driven by desire or fear.
Yeah, right.
Right.
The fear factor.
They can stay at home.
Yes,
Right.
you need to stay inside.
Under the couch like a dog.
Yes, so that way, So,
So their awareness is steady, I guess,
yes.
no matter what happens.
Yeah, like the sky.
Yeah.
It doesn't move. It is always there, right? It absorbs everything, but still nothing moves that sky.
Right.
So that is an example of what we should be also, right? We absorb everything, but we don't move. Like our mind does not wander away. So that is the practice there.
I guess there's this ability to act spontaneously.
Yeah, because it happens spontaneously.
You know, like not with,
effort. The same
but
thing.
also not without manipulation or a plan, but to be more spontaneous.
Yes, spontaneous,
Right.
as it comes. right?
Natural.
Yeah, naturally, as the wave comes, so we got to deal with every wave that comes. Yeah, so that way, yeah. So that is what happens to the yogi, that is when this experience of compassion and equanimity and everything arises, then obviously everything dissolves for him. The spiritual life, the ordinary life doesn't mean anything for
Right,
him
right.
at all. It is now
All the present
in a
moment.
very non-dual state,
Right.
right?
And then, ending up this video with death, discussion on death. Next we'll be talking about verse 26 from the Gorakh Sabadi. And, so I'm just wondering if you can maybe talk about death in relation to with Sahaj and the Mahasamadhi.
Oh, yes, that's very interesting also. Yeah, so here you can see the relationship of Sahaj with death, right? What it means. So here you can see in that verse also, number 26, God speaks about this, right? It says, die, O yogi, die, such death is sweet, right? So this is the death of the false self. That is what he is saying, die.
Right.
Yogi, he's not telling you to go and kill yourself, he's telling you die, but what should die, right?
Right.
That false identity, that covering that you have, remove it, so there, he's really telling us this, right?
Right.
So that's why Goraknath, he calls it a sweet death. This death is so sweet.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it? Why don't you die? This death. So it's so beautiful, right? So and that's sweet death also, meaning that actually nothing dies.
Right.
Right? Nothing
Just
dies.
an illusion.
Yes, it's just...
So I guess like in the Nāth Sampradaya, Mahasamadhi is, not a moment of physical death. But
Yes.
you've already died this sweet death.
Yes.
And then the body can...
Yes, very true. That is what
Die.
Mahasamadhi is, right?
Right.
That is because the Mahasamadhi is a ritual, to honor this particular yogi who has already died, right? This sweet death that Gorakh talks about. He has already died during his own lifetime, when he was alive. That's why Gorakh is saying, like, die when you are alive, So he has already died, right, to the world and to everything, and then he has found himself. He is a realized being. Why they say realized? Because he has realized his self, his true self, right? So he is already dead, and the Mahasamadhi is just a ritual to honor this yogi, right? That, here is this yogi, right, who has already died before this death, you see, right, to honor him. So it is also symbolic because they build a samadhi like a temple, right, and the yogi is put inside there, right. He's not dead. That does not mean like he's dead. He's not dead. He is always alive now because he has attained that state, right. He never dies, right. So he's just in a state of samadhi. That's why they are seated, they are seated in their samadhi, and their belongings are also kept there, everything, right? What they need, water, what food is to drink, everything, like just the ritual, But the inner thing is like, it also says the body, and the real thing that is the innate nature is there inside. That samadhi also represents this truth of...
transformation inward.
Yes, to go inside.
Okay, so to sum up, final question. How do you summarize Gorakh's teaching on Sahaj?
Yeah, that is very simple. We can just say, like, stop trying to become what you are not. Stop becoming that, That is, you never, was there, is this. And what you are, you try to find that. Stop trying to become what you are. You have never, you never ceased to becoming that person. Why are you, becoming an imposter? Why are you imitating the false things?
Yeah.
You see, you got to see and become yourself, and remove all that covering, all the dust from the mirror, clean it, wipe it off, so that you will see yourself very clear on the mirror.
Can shine.
Yeah, you shine, So that is what I can summarize this in a very short way. Remove the covering and then let your natural self, the natural state, the natural one you are, right, shine.
Beautiful. So now, because this was so long, we're going to make a second video and talk about the twilight language.
Well, that'll be another welcoming one. Thank you.
See you in a minute.
Yes.